Friends, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's not difficult for you, but it's nice for me, and we're starting. So once, when drunk, Lek told me an interesting story, in which, as it turned out, I myself was directly involved, and now I decided to tell you. From time to time, our company, childhood friends, now with their wives, colleagues, and sometimes friends of friends, remember that it would be nice to get together and chat. What do we call it? To drink beer, even if there is no beer at the table. That time we gathered in the billiard room. The company was large and diverse. However, it makes no sense to list the whole evening and all the people, except for one character. It was a work colleague of one of our mutual friends who found out that we were going to the billiard room. An avid billiard player, Kolya, or Kalian, as he appeared to everyone. Against the background of bald and short Lehigh, frankly speaking, stood out. Tall, under 2 meters tall, athletic, he was wearing a t-shirt that emphasized his musculature and tattooed shoulders that evening. Tight jeans that accentuate her firm ass. In general, he's kind of macho, though without a weak stubble, but clean-shaven. He joined the company easily, was cheerful, noisy, but without annoying arrogance and obsession. Thanks to the large company, we all split up into small groups at different billiard tables, from time to time gathering all together at a table with food and drinks. The evening was fun, the degree increased, and the number of participants, as is usually the case, gradually decreased. Almost all of them are family, who have household chores, who have children. I was without my wife that evening, so I was almost the last to leave, when the most persistent and free ones were already left. Kalian was alone, Lek and Naduka were childless, and there were a couple more people. My wife has already called me, saying it's time and honor to know. Therefore, when I was about to bow to everyone, the rest had already moved to one end of the long table so that they could hear each other. And we have freed up the billiard tables for more persistent visitors. There was only one table left for us, around which Lekin's wife walked and looked for the right stroke. Naduka habitually smeared, and it was pointless to really play with her, but it was boring to give in. It was her first time playing billiards, but she had enough enthusiasm to learn. For some reason, she was sure that very soon she would comprehend Zen and tear everyone up. Nadia pestered her husband with questions about how to make punches, how to spin balls, and so on. Lek, who was drunk, was clearly already tired of this. He wanted to sit with us more, to dance, for life. Kalian was also hanging out with them. I'm going over that evening in my head now, and I'm coming to the conclusion that Kolya had already fallen for Lyakina Naduka and was trying to hit her with wedges. But at that moment, I thought the guy was just very friendly and willing to share his knowledge with new friends for free. Lek played well, I must say, but Kalian was definitely better. I would even say more professional. Not only was the experience visible, but he was also theoretically savvy. Therefore, when Kolya corrected Lek again, explaining the physics of another feint, he, with visible relief, suggested that Kalian take up his wife's training. Lek returned to the table with beer and snacks. Kalian and Naduka remained at the billiard table. A short time later, I was sitting facing them, Lek half-turned, but he was so enthusiastic about telling us about the advantages of Linux, he always loosens his tongue when drunk, that he didn't even look back at his wife. The others turned their backs to the players. What else should be noted? Lek was one of my colleagues, and Kolya joined the company at the invitation of my old friend, and they had never crossed paths until that evening. Kalian got down to business immediately and seriously. Hovering over Nadia due to his height, he held the cue with her, showed her how to hit, where to relax the muscle, and where to apply force. I tried to position the low Naduka in the right stance. It looked very beautiful, and although Kolya did not allow himself anything special, he managed to rub himself everywhere. Nadia sometimes cast sidelong glances at our table, and I promptly averted my eyes, pretending to be an enthusiastic listener. Lek was still talking about something, finally relaxing from his wife's constant control. I must say, in their family, Lek seemed to me a typical henpecked man. Always active and playful, Nadia constantly managed to notice, pull, and discipline Lek. I always knew how much he should drink, when to stop, which women he shouldn't stare at, and how to dress. It didn't seem to bother him much, and he was genuinely happy with what a caring wife he had. Is that what you need? Yeah. Well done. You pick it up fast. Another couple was going home. We all stood up to see them off. Kolya peeled himself away from Nadia, and she suddenly attracted our attention with a joyful cry. Leshik, I scored 2 in a row. Cool, right? However, they were playing pool, and the pockets were big and the balls were small. You can score by accident, but for her it was an achievement. She skipped over to her husband, hung on to him, kissed him, and informed him that time was running out on their table and she was just getting started. In general, she asked Lekha to order a table for another hour, and Kolya informed her that she had already more or less learned how to play pool, and then he would teach her how to play Russian billiards. They say it's much more complicated, so it's more interesting. We all went out together, and Kolya went to the bar to order another table. Nadia kissed the departing ones and me. I was already at the start, too, on the cheek, and flew off to Kolya. For about 15 minutes, as it happens with drunken companies, we were still saying goodbye on the street, loading Sergey and Alina into a taxi. Then Lek and I stood outside for quite a long time, talking. I even remember joking that Kalyan would teach Nadia bad things there while her husband wasn't around. Lek laughed and said, "They say, let Najuka take out his brain today, and he's resting today." And we said goodbye. I went home, and he went inside to look for billiard players. It's been a long time since Lek and I got drunk again, and he was drawn to revelations. It turns out that he returned to the hall, wandered between the tables for quite a long time. There's smoke there in the evenings, even if you hang an axe. I looked at where her faithful was lost, then I went to the toilets. I even went to the women's. I went outside, looked around, and on my way back, I ran into Nadia and Kalyan. It turned out they were playing in a VIP booth. The same billiard table, but standing in a separate room, not in the common room. As Kalyan said, all the other tables were booked. They were only in the VIP. Kolya bought money from Lekha for a table, and they went home. But despite the drunkenness, Lek then thought that his wife looked very shabby and somehow looked at him guiltily. Besides, he remembered for sure that her lips were brightly made up, and when they met, they were no longer wearing lipstick. In general, according to Alexei, Kalyan the bastard ate lipstick when he kissed her and fucked his wife, and Lek also paid him for it. He smiled very contentedly when he took the money. Alas, he never received any certainty. It turns out that she called him to tell him which booth they would be in, but he himself put his phone in her purse at the beginning of the evening so as not to interfere. And she immediately proved it to him by showing him his phone with her unanswered call and in silent mode. And she wiped her lips with a napkin as she spat out the gum. And she was washing, because she was very stoned. Her whole body smelled of the smell of cigarettes. She wanted to wash it off. And she often washes her panties right away when she washes. Alas, that was also true. When Nadia realized that Lek was stuck and didn't know what else to show his wife, she giggled and was glad that he was jealous of her. I started asking him what he thought. Did he imagine how Kolya or other men would use her? And what would he do if he went into a booth? And Kolya actually has it there? Then Lek himself went from being an interrogator to being interrogated. And she didn't let up for a long time, either giggling, teasing, or shaming him for not trusting his beloved girl. At the same time, Nadia never gave a direct answer whether there was something between her and Kolya or not. She just said that he already had the answer in his head anyway. If she says everything happened, it may be true, or it may be a fantasy. And if she says that nothing happened, then Lek may still not believe her. Lek has never forgotten this incident, and he still seems to be thinking about it, since he drunkenly decided to dump this story on me. At the same time, he was waiting for me to either characterize Kolya or my opinion on his story, but I didn't say anything definite at the time. And then I still believe that it was not worth going into someone else's family with advice or valuable information. And Kolya and I saw each other several times, at parties together, and once, talking about his exploits, he boasted to me that he couldn't forget how he had made love to a redhead in front of her husband, and then used her on the billiard table while her husband was hanging out with the Kints. This conversation took place after the conversation mentioned above, so I was wondering if Lek was right in his suspicions, and I began to ask for details. Yeah, okay. There must be some kind of scumbag. What would she give you in front of her husband? What's that about? Kolya was offended. A normal girl. She was just tipsy, turned on, and when I drugged her, it was too late to give her the back. Did you get high? I pretended that I did not understand him, provoking further revelations. I must give Kolya his due. For the whole of his story, he never said either Nadia's or Lyoka's name. Only once did he smile and say that I knew them too. At the same time, I was interested in the continuation of the story. What happened next? But then Kolya said, disappointed, "No, there was nothing else. I tried to meet her. I even found it online. It is not written in any form. She says she doesn't want to cheat on her husband. But then I just got lucky. It won't happen again." It was only at that moment that I felt a little better for my friend. Even if his beloved stumbled once, she still appreciates their relationship. No, I'm definitely not going to tell Lek anything, I decided. What was my surprise when I found out 3 years after all this that he and his wife were looking for a couple for swinger pleasures. They offered it to us, but my wife immediately cut off that she didn't want to go with them. She didn't like Lek at all outwardly, even though I would have blown her up. I wonder if that case with Kolya, as well as Lyoka's long doubts and worries, served as a trigger for swinging in this couple? Why do people become swingers at all? Who would have known?